The crystal chandeliers threw diamonds of light across the marble floors of the Grand Meridian Hotel. Women in silk gowns glided past men in tailored tuxedos, champagne flutes catching the glow of 1,000 candles. Tonight's charity gala promised to raise millions for education programs across the city, and everyone who mattered had come to see and be seen. Marcus Chen adjusted his bow tie as he stepped through the gold-trimmed entrance. At 42, he moved with the ease of someone who had learned long ago that confidence required no announcement. His dark skin gleamed under the lights, his simple but perfectly cut tuxedo speaking volumes without shouting. He had flown in from Singapore just for this evening, arriving barely an hour before the event began. A young attendant offered him a glass of champagne. Marcus accepted with a nod, his eyes scanning the room with practiced assessment. He spotted table 1 near the stage, exactly where his assistant had confirmed his seat would be. The table reserved for the foundation's most significant contributors. He made his way through the crowd, exchanging brief pleasantries with strangers who didn't recognize him. That was fine. Marcus preferred it that way. He had built his fortune in venture capital by watching, listening, staying 3 steps ahead while others chased the spotlight. But when Marcus reached table 1, he stopped short. A couple sat in the 2 center seats, the ones marked with his name card and that of his +1, which he had left empty tonight. The man was perhaps 50, with silver hair swept back from a face tan from ski trips and yacht excursions. His wife wore emeralds that probably cost more than most people earn in a year. They were laughing with another couple, completely at ease. Marcus approached slowly, setting his champagne on the table. He picked up the name card that had been moved to the side, reading his own name printed in elegant script. "Excuse me," Marcus said, his voice calm and measured. "I believe there's been a mistake. These are my seats." The silver-haired man glanced up, his eyes moving from Marcus's face to his shoes and back again. Something cold flickered in his expression. "I don't think so. These seats were available when we arrived. Perhaps you're confused about your table assignment." Marcus felt the familiar tightness in his chest, the one that had accompanied him through boardrooms and country clubs, through college campuses and corporate lobbies. He kept his face neutral. "No confusion. My name is on this card. Marcus Chen. This is table 1. The woman in emeralds let out a sharp laugh. "Table 1 is for major donors, dear. Perhaps you should check with the staff about where you actually belong." The other couple at the table shifted uncomfortably, suddenly fascinated by their wine glasses. Marcus pulled out his phone, pulling up his email confirmation. "I have my seating assignment right here. Would you like to see it?" The silver-haired man stood now, drawing himself to his full height. He was taller than Marcus by several inches, and he used every bit of it. "Listen, friend. I don't know what game you're playing, but Richard Blackwood and his wife don't just sit anywhere. We were invited to this table specifically. Now, I'm sure there's been some sort of mix-up with the event planning, but that's not our problem. There are plenty of other seats in the room. My seat is here," Marcus said quietly. "At this table." Richard Blackwood's face flushed red. He turned to a passing waiter. "Excuse me. We need security over here. This man is harassing us." The young waiter's eyes went wide. He looked between Marcus and the Blackwoods, clearly unsure what to do. I'll get the event manager." "Get security," Catherine Blackwood insisted, her voice rising. "We shouldn't have to deal with this on such a lovely evening." A crowd began to gather, curious faces turning toward the commotion. Marcus stood perfectly still, his hands relaxed at his sides. He had been here before, in 1,000 different variations. The assumption that he didn't belong. The casual dismissal. The escalation when he dared to stand his ground. 2 security guards arrived, both built like former linebackers squeezed into ill-fitting suits. "What seems to be the problem here?" the taller one asked, Richard Blackwood pointed at Marcus. This individual is claiming he has seats at our table. He's clearly confused or trying to cause trouble. We'd like him removed so we can enjoy our evening. The security guard turned to Marcus. Sir, do you have your ticket? Marcus handed over his phone, showing the confirmation email. The guard squinted at it, then at Marcus, then at the Blackwoods. This does say table 1, but these folks say the seats are theirs. Because they are ours, Catherine snapped. Really, this is becoming absurd. We know the foundation director personally. We've donated hundreds of thousands to this cause. You can't seriously be suggesting that we're in the wrong here. The second security guard stepped closer to Marcus. Maybe it would be easier if you just found another seat, sir. I'm sure we can sort this out after the event. Sort out that I'm sitting in my assigned seat? Marcus asked. The crowd around them had grown larger, phones appearing, recording the scene. He could see the calculations happening in real time, the way people were choosing sides based on nothing but appearance. A woman in a navy dress pushed through the crowd, her face pale. She wore an event coordinator badge. What's happening here? The program starts in 10 minutes. Finally, Richard Blackwood said. Linda, thank goodness. This man is trying to claim he belongs at table 1. Can you please clarify the seating arrangements so we can put this unpleasantness behind us? Linda's eyes landed on Marcus, and something like recognition flickered across her face. Then panic. She grabbed her tablet, swiping frantically through screens. Her hands started to shake. Oh no! Oh no, no, no! What is it? Catherine demanded. Linda looked up at the Blackwoods, her voice barely a whisper. These seats are assigned to Marcus Chen. He's our keynote speaker tonight. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Richard Blackwood's face went from red to white. That's impossible. We were told these seats were for major contributors. They are, Linda said, her voice growing stronger. Mr. Chen is the foundation's single largest investor. He's donated $12 million over the past 3 years. Tonight, he's receiving the Humanitarian Excellence Award. The crowd erupted in murmurs. Phones tilted, cameras refocusing. Catherine Blackwood gripped her husband's arm, her emeralds suddenly looking garish under the lights. Marcus finally allowed himself a small smile. I tried to tell you. We didn't know, Richard stammered. We had no idea who you were. If we had known, then you would have treated me differently, Marcus finished. That's exactly the problem, Mr. Blackwood. A new figure emerged from the crowd, older, distinguished, wearing the confident air of someone used to being in charge. Marcus. There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. Director James Morrison clasped Marcus's hand warmly. I see you met the Blackwoods. Richard, Catherine, I trust you've been making our guest of honor feel welcome. The silence was deafening. Morrison's smile faded as he took in the scene, the security guards, the phones, the frozen expressions. What happened here? Marcus spoke before anyone else could. Just a misunderstanding about seating, James. Nothing that can't be addressed. But Morrison was already piecing it together, his jaw tightening. He turned to the Blackwoods. You were sitting in Mr. Chen's seats. We didn't realize, Richard tried again. There was no name card visible when we arrived, and we assumed. You assumed what, exactly? Morrison's voice cut like ice. That the seats at table 1 couldn't possibly belong to him. Catherine's composure cracked. We made a mistake. We're sorry. Marcus held up a hand. The question isn't whether they're sorry now. The question is why they refused to believe me when I told them the truth. Why security was called. Why I was asked to leave rather than them being asked to check their own seating assignments. Richard Blackwood looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. We were wrong. Completely wrong. You were, Marcus agreed. And here's what's interesting, Mr. Blackwood. I know exactly who you are. Blackwood Investment Partners. You manage portfolios for mid-tier clients, decent returns, nothing spectacular. What you don't know is that the Chen Capital Group holds a 30% stake in your parent company. Has for 2 years now. We've been considering whether to maintain that investment or divest. Richard's face went gray. You're CG. I am CG, Marcus confirmed. And tonight was going to be a celebration, a chance to meet some of the people benefiting from the foundation's work, to maybe discuss expanding my involvement. Instead, it became a reminder of why this work matters in the first place. Morrison stepped forward. Marcus, I am profoundly sorry. This should never have happened. Security should have verified seating assignments immediately. The Blackwoods should be asked to leave. No, Marcus said firmly. The word hung in the air. Don't ask them to leave. Let them stay. Let them hear what I have to say tonight. He turned to address the crowd that had gathered, his voice carrying across the hushed room. All of you, actually. Stay for what comes next. Because this isn't just about one couple at one table. It's about every assumption made, every time someone decides who belongs and who doesn't based on nothing but the color of their skin. It's about systems that believe some people automatically over others. It's about security being called not because someone was causing trouble, but because someone dared to insist they belong in a space others assumed was not meant for them. The crowd shifted, uncomfortable, unable to look away. Marcus continued. I've spent 20 years building companies, creating opportunities, generating wealth that I try to share with causes that matter. And still, at events like this, in rooms like this, I'm questioned. I'm doubted. I'm asked to prove myself in ways others never have to. Tonight isn't unique. It's just visible. He picked up his champagne glass from the table, the one he'd set down what felt like hours ago. But here's what I believe. I believe in the possibility of change. I believe that moments like this, as uncomfortable as they are, can become teaching moments. I believe that justice isn't about punishment, it's about accountability and growth. Marcus looked directly at the Blackwoods. You made assumptions tonight. Those assumptions cause harm. What matters now is what you do next. Do you dismiss this as an embarrassing mistake and move on? Or do you sit with the discomfort of understanding why those assumptions existed in the first place? Do you examine the biases you carry, the ones we all carry, and commit to doing better? Richard Blackwood nodded slowly, something genuine finally appearing in his expression. You're right. We will do better. We have to. See that you do, Marcus said. He turned to Morrison. James, let's start the program. We have important work to talk about tonight. As the crowd dispersed, finding their seats, Marcus finally settled into his chair at table 1. The Blackwoods moved to different seats at the back, their evening thoroughly shattered but perhaps not wasted. When Marcus took the stage an hour later, he spoke about education as the great equalizer, about opportunity as the foundation of hope, about the responsibility of those with resources to build bridges instead of walls. He talked about the children whose lives would be changed by tonight's donations, about the teachers who would be trained, the schools that would be built, and he talked about dignity. The right every human being has to be believed, to be respected, to take up space without having to justify their existence. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. As Marcus left the stage, he passed the Blackwoods near the exit. They stood together, uncertain. Mr. Chen, Richard said. What you said tonight, about your investment in our company. Are we going to lose that? Marcus paused, considering. That depends. Not on tonight, specifically. But on whether you learn something from it. I invest in people who grow, who adapt, who face their failures and become better because of them. Show me that's who you are. He extended his hand. Richard took it, his grip firm but humble. Thank you, Catherine added softly. For not destroying us when you could have. Destruction isn't the goal, Marcus replied. Progress is. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about making sure the next person who walks into a room like this doesn't face what I faced tonight. It's about building a world where everyone's seat at the table is honored. As Marcus walked out into the cool night air, his phone buzzed with messages, interview requests, articles already being written about the incident. Tomorrow would bring more conversations, more opportunities to turn this moment into momentum, but tonight, he had stood his ground. He had spoken his truth. He had chosen hope over bitterness, education over retaliation, justice over revenge. The invisible giant had made himself seen, not through anger or force, but through the undeniable power of dignity, preparation, and grace, and somewhere in that glittering ballroom, seeds of change had been planted. Whether they would grow depended on the soil they found. But Marcus Chen had done his part. He had shown up. He had stood firm. He had turned humiliation into a masterclass on humanity. That was enough for one night.